If I told you happiness isn't something you find, but something you create, would you believe me? Ladies and gentlemen, we live in a world that is always running, chasing deadlines, scrolling through distractions, comparing lives and measuring success through fleeting applause. And in the race to achieve more, own more, and become more, we often forget the most important pursuit of all, the pursuit of happiness. But here's the truth that most people overlook. Happiness is not a destination. It's not a trophy waiting at the finish line. It is a state of being, a quiet, consistent choice you make every single day. You see, happiness doesn't come wrapped in fortune or fame. It doesn't walk in with likes, followers, or even perfect relationships. True happiness is something you grow within yourself. It's built on intention, awareness, and the courage to care for your soul. It doesn't demand perfection. It requires presence. And once you realize that happiness isn't something outside of you, but something you cultivate, everything begins to shift. Now, the question is how? How do you keep yourself happy, especially when the world around you feels chaotic, uncertain, or unkind? The answer lies in 5 foundational rules. They're not magic. They are not trendy hacks. They are timeless truths. Simple, yet powerful choices that, when practiced daily, build an unshakable sense of inner peace and joy. So here they are, the 5 rules that can help you keep yourself happy, grounded, and deeply fulfilled. Ladies and gentlemen, gratitude is not merely an act of politeness. It is a transformative way of seeing the world. In a time when we are constantly bombarded by what we lack, what we should have, and who we ought to be, practicing gratitude is an act of rebellion. A rebellion that rewires the brain, strengthens emotional resilience, and cultivates an unshakable inner peace. Gratitude doesn't require perfection. It doesn't demand that life be flawless to be appreciated. Instead, it invites you to look at what is rather than what isn't. It's not about ignoring pain. It's about acknowledging that even amid the storm, there are still stars overhead. Quiet, unwavering, shining. When you train your eyes to see the blessings you already possess, your health, your breath, your heartbeat, your freedom, the people who care for you, or even the sheer miracle of waking up this morning, you slowly begin to realize that happiness was never missing. It was simply buried beneath expectations. Practicing gratitude daily means waking up and saying, "This is enough for now." It means choosing to feel fulfilled, not because you have everything, but because you've stopped waiting for everything to feel fulfilled. And here's the miracle. The more grateful you are, the more life seems to give you reasons to be grateful. It's not magic, it's alignment. Gratitude shifts your attention. What you focus on expands. If you focus on what's wrong, your problems will feel enormous. If you focus on what's right, your life will begin to feel rich, even if your bank account says otherwise. Gratitude turns just surviving into deeply living. Let's talk science. Gratitude literally changes the way your brain functions. It activates the hypothalamus, improves sleep, boosts serotonin and dopamine, and strengthens the immune system. When you take time every day to pause and reflect on what you appreciate, you're not just soothing your emotions, you're building mental muscle that resists depression, anxiety, and bitterness. You don't need grand gestures, just 5 minutes a day. A small journal entry, a quiet moment at the window, a whispered thank you before bed. Those moments compound. One day you'll look back and realize that all the beauty you ever searched for was quietly sitting in the palm of your hand all along. You were just too distracted to see it. The happiest people in the world aren't the ones who have the most, they're the ones who notice the most. Gratitude teaches you to become a noticer. You begin to see how beautiful the wind feels on your skin, how warm the sunlight is on your face, how soothing your favorite tea is, how comforting a kind word can be. Suddenly, ordinary things become extraordinary. You no longer wait for something big to make you happy, because your happiness is now built into every little thing. When practiced with sincerity, gratitude also changes your relationships. You become softer, more understanding, more forgiving. You realize that people aren't perfect, but many of them are trying. You begin to thank your loved ones, not just with words, but with presence, patience, and peace. Gratitude doesn't just improve your mental health, it makes you a better human being. Most people are stuck in a loop of comparison. They look at others and wonder why their life isn't as easy, as glamorous, or as successful. But gratitude interrupts comparison. It says you are enough. What you have is enough, and if you treat this moment as precious, it will reveal joy to you. Suddenly, you're not envious of others. You're inspired. You're not bitter about your circumstances. You're blessed by them. It is not happiness that brings gratitude. It is gratitude that brings happiness. You don't need to wait for everything to go right before you feel grateful. In fact, it's in the moments when everything is falling apart that gratitude becomes your lifeline. When you can say, even now, even here, I'm thankful, you take your power back from pain. Ladies and gentlemen, don't let the habit of wanting more blind you to what you already have. Don't let the rush of modern life make you forget the miracle of your existence. Every time your heart beats, it's whispering, you are alive. That is enough for today. So pause, breathe, reflect, and say thank you. Not because everything is perfect, but because life, even in its chaos, is still a gift. Start small, make it real, write one thing down, speak one thank you aloud, reflect on one quiet miracle. Do it every day until gratitude becomes your nature, until you begin to smile at things that once went unnoticed, until the weight on your shoulders feels lighter, not because it disappeared, but because your perspective grew stronger. Practice gratitude daily, and I promise, life will surprise you in the most beautiful ways. Ladies and gentlemen, your environment is more powerful than your willpower. No matter how strong, determined, or ambitious you are, the people you allow into your life will shape the trajectory of your thoughts, your emotions, and your future. Energy is contagious. Just as a disease can be transmitted through physical proximity, so too can discouragement, negativity, and fear. And on the flip side, so can confidence, love, hope, and fire. If you surround yourself with constant criticism, comparison, and chaos, don't be surprised when you find your spirit exhausted and your vision blurred. But if you surround yourself with voices that believe in you, support you, push you, and remind you of your greatness, then even in your darkest moments, there will be light enough to keep going. That is the power of positive people. Understand this, not everyone deserves a front row seat in your life. Some people were only meant to pass through, not stay. If someone constantly drains you, belittles your dreams, or plants seeds of doubt every time you rise, that is not love. That is not friendship. That is slow erosion disguised as companionship. You must be brave enough to edit your circle, even if that means fewer people standing around you, because a small circle of sincere, empowering souls is infinitely more valuable than a crowd of empty noise. Surrounding yourself with positive people doesn't mean finding perfect people. It means choosing those who reflect the kind of energy you want to embody. People who clap when you win, but also sit beside you when you lose. People who challenge you to grow, not shrink. Who celebrate your authenticity, not punish your flaws. These are the souls who remind you of your worth when the world tries to make you forget. There's a quiet strength in walking away from relationships that no longer align with your peace. It doesn't make you cruel, it makes you aware. Your energy is your currency. Spend it wisely. If you're constantly giving but receiving nothing but stress, confusion, and self-doubt, it's time to pause and reevaluate. Because real friends don't drain you, they fill you. Ladies and gentlemen, think about a moment when you felt fully alive, inspired, and seen. Who were you with? Chances are you weren't alone. You were likely with someone who believed in your light even when you felt surrounded by shadows. That's what positive people do. They reflect your brilliance back to you when you forget it exists. Sometimes it's not even about direct encouragement. Just being around people who live with joy, integrity, and authenticity can be enough to awaken your own. Their presence becomes a mirror, showing you what's possible. Their laughter reminds you that life is still beautiful. Their resilience reminds you that giving up is not the only option. The truth is, we become the average of the people we spend the most time with. If you're around pessimists, you'll start doubting yourself. If you're around complainers, you'll start seeing the world as a burden. But if you're around dreamers, doers, believers, and builders, your life will begin to take the shape of their energy. You will start thinking bigger, speaking kinder, acting bolder, and living freer. You will begin to believe in yourself again, so choose wisely. Don't just let people into your life out of habit, history, or guilt. Let them in because their presence brings value, not just comfort. Let them in because they water your growth, not suffocate your voice. And if you're blessed enough to already have such people, hold them close. Let them know they matter. Tell them thank you. Be that same light for them. Sometimes, the most powerful shift in your life begins not by changing your job, your city, or your goals, but by changing who you allow into your space. Protect your peace like it's sacred, because it is. You can't heal in the same environment that broke you. You can't grow in soil poisoned by doubt and disrespect. You deserve to rise, and that means planting yourself where light reaches you. You are not meant to do life alone, but you're also not meant to carry dead weight. Choose company that challenges your growth, not your self-worth. Be intentional with your circle. Let go of guilt. Release the idea that you are responsible for everyone's emotions but your own. You are responsible for your energy, your joy, your healing, your success, and the people around you influence all of it. Surround yourself with people who speak truth with love, who don't just agree with everything you say, but correct you when needed, gently, kindly, who don't fuel your ego, but nurture your soul. People who show up not just when it's easy, but especially when it's hard. People who remind you that you're not alone, and most importantly, be that person too. Be the positive presence in someone else's life. Be the one who inspires, uplifts, listens, and supports, because the energy you give is the energy you attract. The more you shine light, the more light will find its way back to you. Ladies and gentlemen, you owe it to yourself to protect your peace, elevate your circle, and grow in the company of those who believe in your brilliance. Choose wisely, love deeply, and surround yourself with people who remind you of who you truly are, especially when you forget. Ladies and gentlemen, the great Justin. There's a quiet rebellion in doing something you love every single day. In a world that pushes you toward hustle, towards productivity, towards proving your worth through constant output, choosing joy, even for a few minutes, is a radical act of self-affirmation. To do something simply because it makes your soul breathe deeper, your smile last longer, and your mind feel alive is not a luxury, it's a necessity. You weren't born just to pay bills, meet deadlines, fulfill roles, and go to sleep tired. You were born to feel something real, something beautiful, something deeply yours. And one of the most powerful paths to sustain happiness is making time, even in the busiest days, to engage with what lights you up from the inside. Doing something you love doesn't mean rearranging your entire life or quitting your responsibilities. It means claiming a sacred space within your life where your soul is allowed to dance, your heart is allowed to sing, and your spirit is allowed to stretch beyond the confines of stress and routine. It could be 10 minutes of sketching in a notebook. It could be planting flowers, writing poetry, playing your guitar, reading a story, baking a favorite dish, or simply sitting in silence watching the sky. Whatever it is, if it breathes life into you, it matters. This practice is not indulgent, it is healing, because when you engage with what you love, you reconnect with who you are underneath all the noise. You remember your essence, your individuality, your dreams before the world told you to be practical. You rediscover the parts of yourself that are playful, passionate, curious, and free. And slowly, day by day, those moments of joy begin to seep into every corner of your being. You become more patient, more present, more alive. Let's be honest, most people are living on autopilot. They wake up, do what they must, go through motions and sleep again, never once checking in with their soul. But something magical happens when you interrupt that autopilot with love. Your life begins to feel like yours again, not just a series of obligations, but a space for expression, connection, and purpose. Doing something you love every day brings balance. It gives you a center. On the days when everything feels overwhelming, that small act becomes your anchor. It reminds you that within the chaos there is still beauty, that you're allowed to enjoy life, not just survive it. that you don't have to earn every breath of happiness. You're allowed to claim it simply because you're human. Some will say they don't have time, but the truth is, you don't have time not to. You don't have time to constantly pour from an empty cup. You don't have time to burn out, to lose your spark, to forget your joy. Making time for love, whatever form it takes, is not about being selfish, it's about being wise. Because when you are full, you give better, you love better, you live better. Doing what you love also sparks creativity. It awakens parts of the brain that routine and repetition shut down. It creates space for new ideas, fresh perspectives, and deeper inspiration. Whether you're an artist, a teacher, a parent, or a student, passion breathes new life into your work. It brings color where there was gray. It adds depth where there was dullness. And let's not forget the emotional power of doing what you love. It can lift you from the depths of despair. It can be the rope you hold on to when everything else feels like it's falling apart. It can be the light that keeps you going, the whisper that says you still matter when the world goes quiet. Because in those moments when you are immersed in what sets your soul on fire, everything else fades, and all that remains is peace. Some people spend their whole lives waiting for the right moment to begin doing what they love. They wait for the kids to grow up, for retirement, for financial stability, for the weekend. But the right time is always now, because love cannot wait. Joy cannot wait. Your soul cannot wait. Begin today, even if it's small, even if it's imperfect, even if it's just 5 minutes. That tiny spark is enough to ignite a fire. And if you don't yet know what you love, explore. Curiosity is a compass. Try new things. Ask yourself what you enjoyed as a child, what makes you lose track of time, what stirs your emotions or makes you feel most like you. Your passion may be buried, but it is not gone. It's waiting for you to rediscover it. Ladies and gentlemen, don't let a single day go by without touching the thing that makes your heart beat a little faster. Don't let the years blur into a routine that forgets your joy. Life is not just about doing what's necessary. It's also about doing what's beautiful, what's personal, what's sacred. And when you commit to doing something you love every day, you're not just making yourself happier, you're making yourself whole. The world needs more people who are alive inside, who laugh from the heart, who carry joy into rooms like light. And that starts with a choice, your choice, to honor your happiness with action. So pick up the brush, take the walk, sing the song, write the line, plant the seed, speak the idea, do it, not for applause or success, but for your soul. Because when you do something you love every day, you're not just living, you're thriving. Ladies and gentlemen, your body is not just the vessel that carries you through life, it is the very foundation upon which every dream, every relationship, every ambition, and every breath is built. To take care of your body is to honor the miracle of your existence. It is to recognize that this form you inhabit, this heartbeat you carry, this breath you're gifted, it's all sacred. You get only one body, and how you treat it determines not just how long you live, but how fully you live. We often forget that our physical health is deeply intertwined with our emotional and mental well-being. A tired body births a tired mind, a neglected body breeds a heavy spirit, but a nourished, well-moved, and well-rested body becomes a powerhouse of clarity, strength, confidence, and calm. When your body feels good, everything shifts. You become more resilient, more hopeful, more able to face the battles life throws at you. Taking care of your body is not vanity, it's survival. It's self-respect, it's self-love in action. But let's be honest, most people don't take care of their bodies until their bodies start breaking down. Until the fatigue becomes chronic, the pain becomes loud, or the diagnoses start piling up. But what if we didn't wait for the collapse? What if we chose to prioritize our health, not out of fear, but out of gratitude? What if we moved, not because we hated our bodies, but because we loved them enough to give them strength? You don't need to spend hours in a gym or follow a perfect diet to honor your body. You need to begin with consistency, intention, and love. Move your body daily, not to punish it, but to celebrate its power. Dance, stretch, walk, run, swim, climb, lift, jump. Do anything that reminds your muscles they were made for movement. Exercise isn't just about physical results. It releases endorphins, clears mental fog, and builds emotional resilience. Just 20 minutes of movement a day can shift your mood, your mindset, and your entire experience of life. Eat to fuel, not to numb. The food you consume becomes the cells that shape your energy, your focus, your strength. Choose nourishment over convenience, balance over extremes. Hydrate your body like it's a garden you want to see flourish. Sleep like your future depends on it, because it does. Rest is not laziness, it's repair. It's where healing begins, where the body recalibrates, where the soul regains strength. Taking care of your body also means listening to it. We live in a culture that glorifies pushing through pain, ignoring signs, and pretending we're fine. But your body speaks through tension, through fatigue, through discomfort. Don't silence it. Don't wait until the whisper becomes a scream. Learn to recognize the signs early. Tune in, respond with compassion, not criticism. Ladies and gentlemen, your body is the home you will live in for the rest of your life. You cannot trade it. You cannot abandon it. So why not treat it with the care, reverence, and responsibility it deserves? Would you allow someone to destroy your home, crack its foundation, poison its air? Of course not. So don't do it to your body. Don't drown it in stress, starve it of sleep, flood it with toxins, or suffocate it with self-loathing. Taking care of your body is not a goal, it's a lifestyle, it's a long-term commitment. There is no finish line. It's in the small, consistent choices, the water instead of soda, the walk instead of the couch, the breath instead of the outburst, the stretch instead of the scroll. It's in choosing to show up for yourself every day, even when no one is watching. Especially then. And understand this, how you treat your body sets the tone for how you allow others to treat you. When you honor your health, you set boundaries. You say, I am worthy of care. I am worthy of respect. I am not disposable. That message echoes into every part of your life. You start to attract relationships, environments, and experiences that honor the same standard. Taking care of your body also gives you power over your future. You reduce the risk of disease, of burnout, of regret. You give yourself the best chance to chase your dreams with energy, clarity, and confidence. Because it's hard to pursue greatness when you're running on empty. It's hard to love others fully when you feel broken. It's hard to shine when you're buried under the weight of fatigue and neglect. Let's make this clear. It's not about having the perfect body. It's about having a body that feels like home. A body that supports your dreams, your joy, your purpose. A body you can rely on, not just for survival, but for full, vibrant living. And that begins with a choice, a daily choice to care, to move, to rest, to nourish. There is no shame in starting small. In fact, that's how all great change begins. One healthy meal, one more hour of sleep, one walk around the block, one decision to say no to what drains you and yes to what restores you. Day by day, those choices add up. They reshape your future. They build a version of you that is stronger, brighter, freer. Ladies and gentlemen, your body is your most loyal companion. It wakes up with you every day, walks through every storm, carries every emotion, and never once asks for anything but care. Don't wait for a breakdown to offer it love. Don't wait until it screams to finally listen. Begin today, not for the mirror, not for the applause, but for the life you want to live. Take care of your body, and it will take care of everything else.